Welcome back for Cloud9 versus TSM, which is shaping up to be a battle for a playoff bye as Cloud9 is coming off another surprising loss on the back half of the split.
Yeah, and I think everyone's starting to pinpoint the problems that have been showing up in those 4 losses that they've picked up. For me, I've been, probably did a good job talking about the bot lane, some of their struggles earlier. I think the mid jungle is one that's drawing a lot of attention too. When they play well, it's Blaber on a high-tempo jungler, Nisqy on a supportive mid lane. Every other combination of that has been struggling in the back half, and there's a lot of individual mistakes as well.
I think these champions that he has in losses, now we don't actually get to see the win rates of these, but when he's been playing some more Sett, some more Trundle, some more Jarvan, what's interesting to me about these picks is that they're not the ones that can get solo kills. They really depend on the team to be making a play, and so Blaber's aggressive nature to want to just get in the mix and take kills and rely on the team to collapse quickly on him is stifled by the fact that his champions can't even look for that kind of play on their own. So there's a slower jungler when it comes to looking for those plays, and because mid lane is also having a hard time, it really slows everything down for C9, and they don't find themselves with those really explosive early leads.
It's something that's actually pretty easy to target now because you ban the Olaf, and then he actually has 0 Graves games. As high tempo of a jungler as that can be and how it can get in people's faces, he hasn't played it yet. And so that's the first and second most aggressive junglers down in some ways. People have kind of given up Nidalee. He never played it then either. And so now you're playing all things that want to combo in some other way. Like Hecarim wants the Shen. Yes, it can go make its own plays, but you still need something comboing with it.
I'm glad you brought up the Nidalee because I actually think that might be where he goes. Golden Guardian banned it yesterday despite him having not played it at all. LPL is first picking Nidalee right now. I know he can play it. Just when will it come out?
So probably we're doing a lot of talking about what isn't working for Cloud9, which is natural given the fact that they went from first place most dominant team in the league to now second and in danger of losing that spot. But I do want to still give a nod to and talk about what aspects of C9 are still working.
Yeah, Licorice has still been performing like a monster. Like his laning stats are really insane. And even yesterday, if they were to win their match yesterday, it would have been off the back of his Sett plays because he's just completely dominant. He's pulling the lane. He's able to freeze. He's still able to get ganks from Blaber. And then in team fights, he's still getting those really important TPs. But yeah, kind of like Mark and Crumbs is saying, if he's the only one performing and your mid jungle isn't, he's not impacting the map enough because kind of the role is stifled in that way. But definitely, I would say Licorice is the one to continually improve, and we're just waiting for the rest of Cloud9 to kind of catch back up.
All right, Licorice being a bright spot, taking a critical look at that mid and jungle duo for Cloud9. I think that microscope is magnified even more when you consider Nisqy's opponent on the other side of the rift. Mark, let's talk about Bjergsen, who's been maybe even quietly putting up a star split performance here this summer.
He's been absolutely incredible. Definitely the most impactful player on TSM, and he's able to do that on supportive champions. His Zilean absolutely popped off yesterday, which is not always how you talk about the champion Zilean. Like he helped someone else pop off, but Bjergsen was a huge factor. And it was a kind of close game against EG, but they had the kill lead the entire time. It was just that some of the objectives and some of the macro plays fell behind, which is why when Bjergsen's playing well individually, it's so important. Because the 5-man might not be playing great all the time, but Bjergsen individually is always performing.
That game where he busts out the Zilean, I mean, there's really still more depth to the champion where we've seen them pair it with the Kindred before, and that could put Spica in a more aggressive style jungle matchup where he can just be frontline the whole way through and have this man behind you. When you have this face watching your back, you do whatever you want.
That face instills me with confidence, Crumbs.
I don't want that face.
I feel like I could dominate the world with that man behind me. No, but it's very interesting to me because we've praised Bjergsen throughout the split for some of his unique pickups in the mid lane, like the Fiddlesticks, and now the Zilean coming back out. But we also know that this is a player who has the potential to carry. And so whereas in the past we've looked at mid laners, top mid laners like Nisqy and Jensen as filling either one or the other role, Bjergsen is one of those players that actually feels like a hybrid and can fill both styles.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned with his champion picks, he does have kind of the plethora, like maybe even the biggest pool right now in LCS. But I definitely think in this kind of matchup, Bjergsen will have to actually focus more in on dominating the mid lane because, yeah, we showed, or earlier in the day, we saw Nisqy, you know, dying to like kind of the Cinder ult from Damonte. Like that's the kind of performance Bjergsen needs to be, and that's gonna keep Nisqy in check. And I think after that, playing the map is gonna be very easy.
I mean, just last game when he was playing the LeBlanc matchup, he was able to get solo kills and side lanes on Nisqy. He was able to roam the map and affect bot side. So Bjergsen has been playing great all split. Nisqy feels like he's slumping a little bit, so I could totally see Bjergsen taking over this game. And to Prolly's point, I do want him on a little bit higher agency champion this game. As much as I loved the Zilean, this is definitely one of those games where whether it's the Syndra, the LeBlanc, one of these skill matchups, I would love to see him take.
Crumbs, do you align here? Do you agree that the best attack against Cloud9 and Nisqy specifically is to put Bjergsen on more of a playmaking and carry-oriented champion as opposed to a supportive role?
Well, when it comes to a supportive champion, not things like Galio and Karma. I don't put Zilean in that same bucket because I think the impact he has in a fight can be much more certain and not as reliant on your carries, because you can really rely on your opposition to make the mistake, then you surprise them with a chrono break and suddenly you've won the fight that way. So I think Zilean is a fine pick for him. Now, whatever else he's got, I'm sure he'll be good on it because there's really no other supportive mid laners right now besides your Galio, Karma, and maybe if you want to play Morgana, but they would never put Bjergsen on Morgana. That would just be disaster.
Well, Cloud9 is searching, or rather hoping to lock up that second playoff bye. But for TSM, looking to tie things up and make it a battle at the end of the split. Let's send it back over to the casters to get us into Game 2.
Thank you very much, Dash, and welcome. We've got an exciting battle here. TSM have control of their playoff destiny. If they win out, including this game, they will get that second seed in playoffs at least, and they will find themselves in a playoff bye for the first time in a while for TSM to have an excellent regular season. For Cloud9, as you said time and again, 2-4 in their last 6 games. They have been slumping hard, and a win over the number 3 team in the standings would help right that ship.
Yeah, but a very worrying trend for Cloud9 is that I queued into a random Nexus Blitz game with Licorice and Vulcan, and they were unable to carry me. You know?
Wow.
So it's I was pretty heavy, to be fair, that game, but
Sure.
you know, worrying, very worrying indeed.
Yeah, I mean, we heard the stats about Nisqy right now. He's, you know, roughly a Zale in weight right now. So I feel like, you know, the squad's got to keep up. Let's see if they can do it. I want to see Bjergsen pop off. It's been a long time since Bjergsen has been that 1v9 MVP mid laner. Would like to see it again. We're seeing aggressive fighter champions getting banned from the Cloud9 stand, dropping things off of Spica's pool. Of course, Olaf remains the most important ban against Cloud9. Can their jungler, can Blaber find something else that even comes close to comparing to what he has done on Olaf?
I mean, something I wanted to touch on quickly with the jungle pool here is that Blaber, you know, is getting Olaf banned against him so much. It's actually banned over 73% of the time against Cloud9, and that is including the 3 first games of the split where he got to play it back to back to back. So since then, it's basically been banned every single game, you know, besides maybe 1 or 2. He also does not play Graves. You know, he hasn't played Graves. He hasn't played Nidalee. So there's not as many carry options for him to go to as there are for a lot of the other junglers in the league. And I think, you know, when people are talking about the fact that, you know, Blaber should always play carries, he shouldn't be on Trundle, you have to take in consideration that, you know, 2 of the most popular junglers that are carry style, he hasn't played. And whether that's he's not comfortable on them or the team just doesn't like playing with that sort of style is another question to answer. But I do think that Cloud9, it's very easy to pinch the jungle pool and push Blaber off of more of those pure carry styles. And as a result, you know, they're having him sometimes show up on the sets and the Trundles and the J4s and things like this when maybe otherwise they wouldn't want to.
Well, it's part of why Lee Sin is his actual most played this split, because he's been able to, like, as you mentioned, the 3 Olaf picks, it's been unbanned once since then. And I'm pretty sure it was taken away as a first pick when they were on red side. So yeah, he's not allowed to play that champion anymore. He's got a Volibear right now, which has been more to him than it has been to Licorice up on the top side. Volibear seems to be more and more mostly a jungler from what I've seen in pro play. Caitlyn, by the way, I think is arguably the most important pick in League of Legends right now. I think she is the strongest bot laner in League of Legends. I think she actually has an advantageous matchup into Ashe, which C9 Rush picked. I mean, we see that as the counter so often, but I really like Caitlyn in the matchup. Morgana here is going to make TSM, I mean, they should be just blitzing down plates. Like, a bot turret should just fall at 10 minutes this game. Based on just champions I'm seeing right now. That's the prediction I'm making here. That should just happen right now.
I do think you can go towards a poke support and be okay in a Morgana, right? So if they go Karma, that's exactly what I was going to say. Then I actually don't agree. I do think if they went towards like a mid laner or something, and then these supports got banned out, then that can be problematic. But Morgana is really good into CC champions and hard engaged champions, where there's something easy to block with a Black Shield. She actually can really struggle into poke style champions like Karma. Even Nami sometimes can be pretty problematic. Yes, Karma is in danger if you do ever get trapped up, because you are squishy in the binding into the trap is probably going to be death. But in a straight up 2v2 where Vulcan and Zven are not getting hit by bindings, they should have the winning matchup, I do feel now. Karma plus Ashe has incredibly strong push. You can utilize the Q on the backline from the Karma. The volley as well is going to help you, maintain push. And if the Caitlyn is pushed back under her turret and being poked out, that can be a difficult situation. So I like this answer here from Cloud9. Yes, theoretically, this still could be a solo lane Karma, but I am going to assume it is for the 2v2. And I think that TSM is doing the same thing here, banning towards mid lane. Cloud9 also targeting Bjergsen here with the LeBlanc ban.
Well, if it does happen, it'll be Vulcan's first Karma game of the split, whereas Nisqy has played it so far in Summer. I do agree with your point, though. I think the addition of Karma turns that matchup around a fair bit. I think we should see a lot of pressure down here in the bottom side, right? Sett and Volibear have decent early gank potential. They run at you quickly and they try to land crowd control. We're seeing a lot of explosive mid lane bans here as well. You're seeing Cloud9 trying to get rid of some of Bjergsen's carries, right? LeBlanc and Silas off the table. TSM, they know what Nisqy's style is. Look, Galio's gone here. TF wouldn't be that surprising either.
It wouldn't. I'm wondering about the Silas ban. If that's Cloud9 saying that they want to actually go towards something even like the Malphite. There are some of those picks that can be devastating to have the ultimate stolen away. Silas is not kind of generically popular these days. Maybe Bjergsen has been practicing it a lot, but he hasn't actually brought it out. No one on TSM has actually played Silas yet this split. So this is either a scrim thing or a nod to a specific counter they are trying to avoid. Kennen. Also, that would be a pretty devastating ult to steal. It does seem like they are going to save last pick here for mid lane to try to answer Bjergsen. Zilean is actually available. They could just go back to it. Bjergsen had, I think, an absolutely immaculate game on the Zilean in their last game. He was incredible, and it was paired alongside Doublelift's Caitlyn. I don't really see any reason why you can't go towards a Zilean. It would be blind. There are some matchups you have to be a little bit worried about, but generally speaking, once you get past the early levels on Zilean, you are very comfortable into pretty much anything. Irelia, interesting. So this still could be mid or top. We don't know just yet. It is a flex pick, and they might want to go double flex. We used to see this a lot in the past, back when Akali and Silas and those types of things were very meta. People would go double flex soul laners and then just adjust based on the matchup. I don't think that you would want to be playing the Irelia into the Kennen, so I am expecting that to be maybe top lane, but with TF it would be top lane Irelia, and he would be just kind of opting into that. So very interesting stuff here. I do think that Broken Blade has put himself into a potentially tough early matchup. TF would be about playing more of those side lanes. AP Cog, I think, would be fine. Once you, again, have some levels in your E, especially once you hit 6, your wave clear becomes very good. It does make it more about the team fight and the poke, and they would maybe struggle to answer in the side lanes, so could go with something else.
Well, looking at solo queue data, which, to be fair, is not pro play. Broken Blade and Licorice are better than any player any of us have ever seen in solo queue. Irelia's favored in the matchup. Irelia actually wins more than average, and Kennen loses more than average against, the field compared to this matchup. So this should look a little bit Irelia favored, at least according to reasonably high elo solo queue. Regardless, TSM have a very spicy lane. Let's look at this, right? Kate Morgana, you're right. With the Karma counter pick, it's a little bit harder of a lane to play, but TF's going to show up in one of those lanes. If you're pushing down as Ashe Karma, good luck with that one. If you're pushing with Kennen, good luck with that one. TS going to make you die. There's a lot of explosive damage here, so this gets really spicy. TSM, I like this comp a lot. The only difficulty is frontline is a little squishy. Sett jungle is a little bit light for my taste, and that can be difficult if you get behind in gold. Otherwise, you're getting free fired on. You get dark binded by Morgana, and you're probably just dead before that thing drops as Ashe throws damage into you. At the same time, though, you've got explosive team fighting on the other side, right? Cloud9, this can look really, really nice with the fact that Kennen flanks, we just saw them dismantle an entire game from Hanser.
But TSM has an incredible amount of CC. There's lots of setup for the Caitlyn traps, gold card, binding, even Irelia stun or the Sett clap. If you can land the stun there, potentially can trap out of that. I will say, even if it is Irelia, having the ability to win that lane later on, my experience definitely of Kennen is that Kennen, wins pretty much all these range versus melee matchups, at least for the first early levels that you are going to have push. I do think that post 6, Irelia has potential to all in the Kennen, and that's where it can get more dangerous. But there are answers, there are ways for Cloud9 to even deal with the TF, and I think one of those is, can Azir have the push, right? And if Azir can actually keep Bjergsen locked under his turret, if Nisqy can consistently push it in, we did see that there was that nerf on TF. The W obviously is going to be a longer cooldown, which means you are going to push a little bit more slowly. You have less access to the blue cards to refill the mana, the red cards to push it out. That's something where they could get an advantage. If Azir has him locked, if the 2v2 is going well for Zven and Vulcan and they can push with impunity because TF is stuck under his turret, then things can start to get tough, I think, for TSM.
I like this little play here that Cloud9 did. Licorice comes down to be in range for ward XP. I believe if only 3 champions share, you get level 2 off of the first wave as a solo laner. So Blaber reveals it, lets Nisqy get the last hit, and Licorice helps to leech that one away. So that can help the lane a little bit here, as we're going to see the junglers do leashless starts with their respective red buffs. TSM, Doublelift, and Treatz want to go right away into attacking this lane. Again, bot lane is really, really volatile. Whoever gets the push has a really big lead in that one. Top lane can be really volatile as well. As you're saying, Kennen probably feels comfortable in the very early levels against melee. As time goes on, that can flip when the all-in becomes a reality. Meanwhile, Bjergsen having to play really far back about the fact that Nisqy can, right, he's already level 2. He pushed in the first wave. He shared wave XP, or ward XP, and Bjergsen just has to lose 300 health.
Yep, and he is going Comet. You can see Vulcan is going Comet as well. They're indexing more highly towards the laning phase. This is not Airy, this is not Guardian, this is, the Karma going for Comet here and trying to bully this lane. They're going to have push. They're going to look to pressure. One of the things that's also very nice about the lethal tempo Ashe is that you hit them with the volley, you proc the lethal tempo, and then you can use all that bonus attack speed to actually constantly shove in that wave even more heavily. And you can see as a result, Doublelift already missed 3 minions. When you are getting pushed in nonstop by this Karma, by this Ashe, it can be difficult. Some of these minions aren't always going to come to the turret, at the right amount of health.
And you can see them trading back and forth. Vulcan puts on the shield, says, okay, let's go hit you a little bit, deal some damage back and forth. Of course, we are Relic Shield here, despite the Spell Thief's buff from the previous patch. And I do think Spell Thieves would have been fairly viable in this game, especially with how C9's playing the lane out. Yep. They're still going for the safer options on both sides, and the guaranteed gold income and the durability in case things go wrong.
I do think it's a good point, because specifically when you are playing this style of matchup, when you're going to play Comet Karma, you don't have the mana regen, you are actually going to run out of mana. You're not going to be able to press Q on cooldown the whole time, right? And especially when he's using some of his abilities fairly aggressively to trade. We saw he used the E for the speed up, shield himself to try to dodge a binding, and then he can go in for some of those auto attacks. Spell Thieves would give you a lot more mana regen to be able to kind of continue up that harass, but it's obviously higher risk, higher reward, because you don't have the same amount of health that you would have here with that Relic Shield, and you also have to be constantly putting yourself at risk to go for those plays. But it looks like they're trying to poke them down and potentially set up a dive here. If they could get more damage down onto Doublelift. Remember, there's no heal on Doublelift. It's TP, so there is potential to actually pull off a dive, but they're not going to go for it. They don't know exactly where the Sett is, and haven't quite got Doublelift or Treatz low enough to signal a dive.
And ultimately, Spica just ends up skipping his Krugs. He takes top Scuttle, and then pretty standard stuff, right? You recall by 4 minutes, you get back to where you started. That's when your camps come back up. For now, though, we're seeing Spica head towards the top side in case there's a play. Licorice has to be respectful of the fact that he's in a 1v2 before too terribly long. Spica's around, tried to stay in fog. I believe he got seen, and out goes the
sucks. So this is actually kind of awkward for him. He does have a ward there, but it is on a pink, so he can't actually see anything. And this wave is horrible. So that's why he's kind of in this awkward spot.
Good early damage. Licorice down to about half HP already, and burns the flash. Not sure he had to. Broken Blade could Q again, but there was no extra stun. Either way, Licorice says, I don't want any part of this one. I'm out. Blaber can fight for a ward, I guess, but this is now a really difficult top lane as the TV comes back in because he needs to shove this wave out.
Yeah, that was actually really, really tough. Licorice got put in a pretty bad spot. He was doing fairly well in farm, but because he just had a wave or two denied from him, it is going to be Broken Blade in the lead. Licorice, did not have the cover there from Blaber. Sett could have been in that area, so Licorice had to play with respect to that, and as a result, the wave got frozen, and Broken Blade's going to be sitting in a great spot. Nisqy also forced to flash, so now Spica going to be liking his chances.
Well, the entire Wolf camp was taken. Spica was able to get its Gromp on the way downwards, but because of top lane pressure, they at least denied Wolves away from him, plus made him lose the time. Recall's coming through now across the map. Doublelift with the black shield on. Nicely played. Vulcan knocks it down with his Q. gets the root, and Doublelift is going to be hiding on the backhand side. Did have to go Doran's shield on Caitlyn of all things. How aggressive this Ashe Karma lane can be. Has to play the more defensive option. Bind gonna land from Treatz, but eventually Doublelift will get his recall off. Should be able to afford BF Sword, does so indeed, so not too bad.
Oh, this is actually a really aggressive TP, so he's trying to force him to stay around because his jungler is behind, but either way, it will get actually pushed in the turret. That's not a common marksman teleport to see, but because Spica was behind him and because Zven and Vulcan were out of mana and hadn't base, you can actually go for that. And these recalls, if they do get stopped, it would be pretty devastating. Either way, they're going to lose at least a full wave because this is not a cannon wave recall. So Zven, will, as a result, it'll be pretty much even on farm. They're going to take this time instead to go for plates. They are going to go for that dragon and grab the first dragon here for themselves. So the 2v2 going in the favor of Cloud9, they did have the push and force out this recall and will have summoner advantage, but TSM going to be feeling pretty good overall. After that TP is used, they're pretty much even. They got a dragon. Things are looking nice.
And so right there, what you just saw, that is what TP buys you. The entire wave was lost from Zven of both gold and experience, plus allowing Doublelift to also help with the Drake to make sure it's completely safe, that no one's going to stop that. That is what you get from burning teleport at about 6 minutes in the lane. Yes, I still think C9 could have played that bot lane slightly better and recall in front of Kennen. They would have still lost the Drake, but they would have lost less gold and experience. But regardless, this is the state we are now in, where the game is once again pretty much tied in gold. Doublelift, once again, very close on farm overall. And hey, Drake advantage to TSM is going to feel pretty good for the early game.
Yep, one of the big advantages right now for TSM is that neither of the C9 soul laners have their flash, so we have to track, can Spica actually make anything happen in this next couple minutes? A few minutes have passed since they did get burned, but thus far, not much has come from it, but you can see them pushing Doublelift back. About a third of his health knocked down there, but he still has 3 biscuits. He's not really in much danger. I would be surprised if he actually completed this recall. I do think that's just him kind of messing around a little bit because he has a lot of sustain with those 3 biscuits plus his Doran shield and fleet footwork. This is a fairly defensive kind of survive the lane style setup. And you can see Blaber again moving up here with Licorice to make sure that he does not get the wave frozen on him again. But Broken Blade has done great, and now there's no flash, and you are in trouble.
Ult to top side. When is Licorice going to get to ult? Not going to be in time. First blood top side, and Blaber has to run for his life. TSM get the first kill on the board. Bjergsen gets right up there. Broken Blade gets the assist of that one.
Very well done by TSM. They do find that window to punish the flashless Kennen, but now they are getting pushed in pretty hard on this bottom side. They have lost the turret play, are getting poked out. Here it is one more time. They escort in that wave, so they know that Volibear is probably in the area, but Bjergsen is here, and there's not really much of a chance there for Licorice to survive whatsoever. Spica would have been there even if Blaber was there a little bit earlier, so they still would have had the man advantage. TSM, though, starting up this Rift Herald.
Whoa, 400 health left on that one. Ult is going to come across for the dunk. Spica gets the double stun, though, and Bjergsen's there as well. Look at the damage output. Nisqy trying to get away. The Volibear re-dunk, though, and that should be 2 kills picked up to C9. Broken Blade can't get out. This is the kind of C9 we used to see in the first half of the split. The willingness to fight and the ability to win them.
And TSM couldn't even pick up the eye. So they got the Rift Herald, but they don't actually get the eye, so they really get nothing out of it. So in the end, it is just the 2 kills for 0, a tiny bit of kill gold on the actual monster itself there. But C9 coming out very heavily ahead. And this was a bit of a risky take for TSM. As you can see, Bjergsen, he's under his turret and has no TP or ultimate. So Nisqy is always going to be the one that gets here first. They just didn't expect, that Kennen would be able to arrive. They almost burst down Nisqy. It was actually a great flash from Spica, dunking Blaber in, then flashing in between them to clap them together, but Nisqy barely escapes. Licorice arrives. Bjergsen has to flash out. The other 2 die, and they don't get the eye. So Cloud9 right back in it. They now do have a lead and are going to be feeling a lot better about things going on the top side.
So C9 back to a gold lead, 500 up. Some of that, of course, lies to you because Twisted Fate passive does generate free gold, and that's just going to show up on the scoreboard regardless of the actual performance of the players. But still, going to say a close game overall. 1 Drake, maybe not worth 1,000 gold. Maybe I favor C9 very slightly, but certainly too early to call any victors just yet. Cinderhook finally now through for the Volibear, Broken Blade, and you can see how far back Licorice is playing, right? He is queuing for last hits with a minion wave there because Irelia will stack up the passive and she will just take him over. As far as the buffs in 10-15, they are now in effect for Irelia from level 7 onwards. She gets 10% more attack speed on a full stacked passive. That is now in effect here. So Broken Blade is finally, for the first time this game, receiving the buffs of 10.15. She was the same champion from before the patch, but now you can see he's feeling pretty comfortable in the mid game.
He is feeling pretty damn good about it, and Licorice, because he can't actually move forward to fully reset the wave, he's just been constantly stuck here. This is just like a permanently frozen wave where he's just bleeding out more and more farm. Broken Blade is always going to keep those 4 minions there, and as long as you have those 4 minions, it will be essentially a permanent freeze until, you know, Kennen comes around or he kind of like overlast hits and does break it. And there's not really much Licorice can do. I mean, sure, you can kind of walk over here and look for some vision, kill a pink ward, but it's not meaning much. But thankfully for Cloud9, Nisqy has picked up 2 plates in the mid lane. They've gotten a plate. I haven't seen if they've gotten a second one. Yeah, they have gotten 2 plates in the bottom lane. So it is that freeze for TSM up on the top side, but Licorice is still in range to get experience. And we'll see if he can actually keep the wave off his turret, because really what Broken Blade is doing is,
Flash for the ulti backwards, easy stun. Bjergsen's flashless, no way out of that one, and Blaber finds himself a kill. The kinds of tower dives C9 fans are looking for. The game, though, still close, 500 apart. C9 only keeping their goal afloat with these kills.
great kill, though. They did know that Bjergsen had no flash because he actually flashed out after the Rift Herald fight. He did have a spellbook heal, I think, there trying to survive, but wasn't able to do it. Blaber now down here on this bottom side. So is Spica. The dragon is up, so we'll see if they can actually take the dragon for themselves. But Bjergsen will be up soon. Will have TP and ultimate, so it would be risky. There is no teleport on Broken Blade, though, so that is kind of the big advantage right now for Cloud9. Licorice just based. He is preparing for this fight and even grabbed sword boots for himself, delaying his proto belt. Didn't get the Kindle Gem there because he was looking for the most possible power right now in case he had to TP, because he knows he's not going to be having a fun time in this 1v1.
Yeah.
We'll see if he can get back up there and collect some of the farm. But, you know, if they can't force something cross-map with Kennen and he's just stuck in this losing 1v1 for a really long time, it's just going to get worse and worse.
It is, and you can see right now the CS difference, nearly 40 up there. Broken Blade, I know we had talked to him, I believe, last week, and he's like, yeah, I've really been having a bad time in top lane for the first half of the split, not playing to my level. He's had a couple of carry games since then. This is the kind of game that Broken Blade is used to playing, and that TSM fans a lot have been expecting out of him is really big carry performances, counterpicking the top lane, plays an aggressive fighter, and so far so good. 32 CSD at 13 minutes. He can receive the wave if he wants to. No TP can be awkward, but this should be, I'm guessing, Ruin King done when he comes back to lane. That's why he's taking this kind of recall. Yeah, there you go. So the first big spike is there, and this means Broken Blade has absurd damage in 1v1s.
He is going to be incredibly strong, and the fact that Bjergsen also has his ultimate back, that's actually why Licorice was backing off the tower, is that Bjergsen was missing from mid lane, and anytime that's happening, you have to give respect for the TF to be looking for that dive. It's such an easy setup. If TF comes in with the gold card, you land that. That's a guaranteed Irelia stun to follow up. The ult is there. Later Ruin King is going to be there, and you will just get burst down pretty much immediately. So this is a hard game now for Licorice to actually play. You know, he got put behind by the first TF ult. He's in a matchup that, you know, is winning very early, but, you know, is quickly turning into the situation where he can get all in, and he's going to have to be playing very carefully.
Farm pretty close to equal here in the mid lane as Bjergsen pretty much ties it up here as he knocks things down, has a stopwatch done. Merc treads in case of more gank pressure, and here comes the play towards top side. Blaber going to dodge the stun. Licorice going to go in for this as well. Nice by Broken Blade. Flashes, jumps to minion and dodges the stun. Now here come the TPs to re-engage. Is this fight what TSM needs? Bjergsen finds the stun. Blaber has to ult away to keep himself alive, and TSM have the cavalry to keep that top lane gank from working.
Nice defensive TP there from Bjergsen. Thankfully for C9, Nisqy actually made the roam very quickly, because if Nisqy didn't make that roam, I think TSM could have continued to play and probably got kills. In the end, there are a trade of flashes, the teleport coming out, so it's not a bad attempt, but that was close to going really poorly for Cloud9. I mean, if they lose Blaber there, who has a bounty on his head, you're going to be feeling pretty bad about the play overall, and TSM did have the HP advantage, so they're starting up the Rift Herald, but Cloud9 is onto them. They spot them with the Hawkshot. Nisqy is here, and it's going to force them to back it up.
Well, reveals going around. Treatz is already roamed up top side, but the Karma's right here as well as Vulcan knocks that one down. Zven even up on this side of the map as they've switched their plays around. Licorice's bot lane with teleport. Doublelift has teleport as well. They could both show. Either way, nothing going to be picked up. TF ult comes in. Licorice has to be careful. No way to get away from this one. He can ignite and do nothing else. The kill donated to Doublelift. Well played, TSM, splitting C9 around the map.
Even dropping the black shield there from Treatz onto Bjergsen as he TPs in, so Morgana can get an assist as well. Very easy setup, pretty much wherever he goes, because gold card onto Kennen is going to be followed by the Irelia stun just as easily as it's going to be followed up by that Caitlyn trap. Cloud9 will try to trade back here with the Rift Herald and should get it, as it doesn't look like C9 will be contested by TSM here. So they are trading back, but this is a very, very even game. And so far, you know, it looks like we're in for a treat. Cloud9, a couple weeks ago, you wouldn't have really given them a chance of falling outside of a bye, right? In playoffs, everyone thought they were going to be the lock for #1. Then even once they started losing a couple games, you're still like, well, even if Liquid passes them, they're for sure still going to be #2. But if they lose this game, they are tied with TSM, and TSM has the ability to pass them.
And now looking at the play as Nisqy has to ult backwards and jumps away. Not the longest of cooldowns. He's got Ashe's tooth, so he's going to stay alive. But you can see the kinds of plays TSM are able to make. A ton of farm on Doublelift, 172 at 16.5 minutes. Broken Blade at 151. Not a bad cliff either. They've certainly got agency in the right champion's hands as Zven is pushing down the mid lane. He's got a ton of farm, highest in the game. Got to give him credit where that one's due. Ashe Karma, one of the most abusive duos you could possibly play against. They did a good job of that one. But no real plates taken at the end of the day. Mid lane had been cracked finally, bot lane cracked as well from the TSM side.
You know, one of the problems I'm kind of seeing here from Cloud9 is their only really good go button is the Ashe arrow. Yes, you can go for a flank engage or something like that, but they don't really have anyone who's actually very good at answering side lanes. You don't really want Azir against the Irelia in a side lane. You don't really want the Kennen stuck there either, with TF being able to ult in on top. Like, so you're going to be kind of just permanently losing side lanes for the rest of the game. And if that's the case, then you need to be able to force at objectives or find and engage. And I don't think the Cloud9 have the absolute best ways to do that. We'll see if they can win this dragon fight, because if they can take a second dragon, then they can force TSM to come to them on the subsequent ones as they threaten Soul as a win condition. So this is a hugely important fight for C9.
There we go, Ocean Drake getting pushed down rapidly by TSM. Blaber's going to walk forward. Smite's going to come through on Spica's side. TSM secures that one. Blaber going to ult back outwards. Licorice not yet going in. There's a stun in the front line. They're going now. Doublelift forces a flash away, and rooted up means nothing else. Into the back line goes Broken Blade. Wants those kills. Gets one. Looks for #2. Nisqy's very, very low. Licorice on the way out, and they're going to pick up a couple of kills still. Flash away, but still rooted in place. TSM wiping the floor with Cloud9. And Zven, you are next. We cut you for a reason, buddy, and it's because we can force red cards. He's going to walk away.
Oh no, Bjergsen actually had 2 chances at the gold card there. So he does let him go away. We'll just say,
they let him go.
What's
you know,
a life between friends?
It's a double entendre.
Go back home and tell everyone else. Break the warnings to the C9 base.
Send
what
the
happens
message.
if you go to the goal, you know, if you go to the Dragon Pit. But here it is again, TSM coming out on top in this fight. They do land the smite, and then they do look for this engage, and critically Licorice did not have his flash, and exhaust is available on the Morgana. So despite the fact that Licorice finds a pretty good angle and the stun was there, the Ashe arrow landed onto Doublelift, exhaust comes down, Black Shield and Guardian are there as well. You can see then Spica finding the angle, dunking Licorice back into his team. Doublelift was still pretty much full health after that, and him and Bjergsen just stepping forward, taking the kill after kill after kill. Very nice fight for TSM. They do miss out on what should have been a pretty easy kill over on Zven. Actually, he had his cleanse, to be fair, so it actually might have just made no difference at all. But either way, TSM coming out on top majorly, and with them having the dragon lead plus the side lane advantage, it's kind of like, all right, Cloud9, now you're really in a tough spot. You've got to try to find a way to dig yourself out of this with some good picks or some outplays or something, but Licorice is just going to fall more and more into kind of the useless category, it does feel like, when...
Unless you can get a full flank.
Yeah,
right?
but
he
even
came in
if
from
you
the side,
do,
and it wasn't enough.
even if you do, if there's exhaust there and Sett dunks you out, like that's
Sure.
tough, right?
It is.
There's a lot of answers.
There are, so we'll see what C9 can do. I want to point out that, you know, the first 10 minutes of this game were not too atypical, right? Cloud9 have good laners, TSM have good laners. What Cloud9 was dominating with, the reason they were 9-0, the reason everyone gave them the nod for winning this split outright and going back-to-back and being the most dominant team ever, was from 10 to 20 was when they would just grow a 7,000 goal lead on you and take the game over. TSM have weathered that so far, still weathering this as Bjergsen's here. And here's Licorice's attempt to find the stuns. He gets a bit of damage, but as you mentioned, the CC is there and no kills have come through. Redemption's going to top them all back off, and that was the kind of TP flank that they were looking for. That's what C9 hoped would happen, and it did nothing at all.
It didn't do much. And that was double TP, actually, because they even used the one from Nisqy. And now Doublelift is actually just going to TP to top lane and take this tower. And Doublelift is ridiculously fed. He is a lot of the teamfight threat here. He's level 13. He's higher than the solo laners on C9 right now. He already has IE Essence Reaver, so he went for a very expensive build. He has been gifted, actually, an incredible amount of solo experience. He's even higher than the solo laners on his own team. That is so rare to see a marksman player be the highest level in the game. You know, Treatz has been kind of making sure he has a safe farm, that he's getting all that solo experience, and they're getting him to a ridiculously strong point. This is an expensive build, but when you hit 3 items as an IE Essence Reaver Rapid Fire Caitlyn, those headshots will hurt so much. And really on anyone except Blaber, that is going to be a very significant portion of your health. You know, you get 2 autos on someone like the Karma or on someone like Zven, and all of a sudden they can't fight anymore.
Well, they're going to have to try because TSM are going to keep the siege going. 650 range on the Caitlyn. Black Shield when needed in case there's engaged tools. Goodbye to this turret. There's a Hurricane and an Executioner's calling for Zven. That's going to be something to the board. But at this point, the TSM siege can continue. You've got Lichbane coming in next for Bjergsen. By the way, Majai's already picked up. He's going to scale great onto this one. TSM going to feel comfortable in every single matchup they could want. 30 CSD in the top lane for Broken Blade. There's really no stopping this TSM train.
There isn't. It's going to be up to C9 to find some sort of way to actually push the pace, because TSM is happy to just play side lanes, continue pushing 3 lanes, continue threatening. You can see it's Cloud9 that is going to have to group up more heavily. Licorice can go out and try to answer these waves. The Protobalt does help you clear that out pretty quickly, so his wave clear is okay. But it's problematic because every time you do send him out to answer, Broken Blade has TP and Bjergsen can ult in on you, and great, you had Cleanse that time. That is well played, but that's Cleanse down. He has no flash. He has no TP. He's stuck in this side lane, and Bjergsen's going to be able to rinse and repeat on these plays much more often than you're going to have the answer yourself.
So this game, 5 seconds now till third Ocean Drake, or third Drake, which is Ocean, comes up. Third for TSM, I should really say, because here it is. The fight could begin, and TSM have been showing they have control. Trapline comes down. That's going to be real annoying to deal with on the Cloud9 side. Bit of poke out from the Azir. Traps come right back down. Damage towards Blaber. That hurts a whole lot. It's going to be another smite fight. This time is picked up by Blaber, and there's the engage. Is this what C9 needed? Oh, it is not. The dunk comes in. Good luck surviving this one. Re-engage here for Licorice, but only to save his team from dying, because that's easily going to be 3 kills picked up. And where is number 4? Because Bjergsen is looking for the re-engage. This time he's got the gold card. Vulcan can cleanse it. He can run for his life. He will stay alive. But it's time to run to bear, and TSM are taking over this game.
Absolutely destroying Cloud9 in these team fights. Doublelift with the full trap line. Cloud9 just struggling to get in, and with Exhaust available, even if Licorice reaches the back line, it just doesn't seem to matter. He is behind, he is getting exhausted. They do not have enough damage to threaten this TSM backline. Caitlyn is just steadily autoing away, and I've got to give credit to Zven. He's finding great angles. Both these Dragon fights, he hit the ultimate Doublelift. You know, he finds this angle here in between Spica and Bjergsen to actually land the ulti here. This was really well played. Look at him move to the very top, just above Spica, nails Doublelift. The Black Shield wasn't there, probably because Treatz didn't even realize he was at risk. But then you jump in, he just gets back out of there. He has the Black Shield. He's staying very far away at range, and you know, they just can't get the access. As soon as Licorice goes forward, he's immediately exhausted. They're always going to save that for him. And Licorice just has no threat right now. TSM are positioning really, really well and just executing even better in these teamfights. This is a TSM that can threaten for being the best team in the league. You know, this is a TSM that their fans have been waiting for honestly the last couple years, that TSM fans were hoping they were going to get with the return of Doublelift. And here they are in the end of Summer Split, you know, reaching this really high-level form, taking down Cloud9, or at least looking like they're in position to do it. Bjergsen just had an incredible Zilean game yesterday. I mean, if Bjergsen and Doublelift are playing, you know, at their peak level, these guys could beat anybody.
Azale, all I see in my mind is the meme of Doublelift as the Grim Reaper walking down the hallway, knocking on the doors and taking the heads. Not only are they playing Cloud9 today and beating them handily, they play TL next week. And by the way, once TSM wins this game, they're only 2 games behind Team Liquid, and one of those 2 games is against Team Liquid. Hey, if Immortals knocks down TL for them next week, TSM can fight for first in the regular season, not just, of course, first in the playoffs, not just the first round bye by taking maybe a tiebreaker against C9, because right now they're going to be tied for second in the standings. TSM can just say, no, no, no. Number one from start to finish, from regular season, through playoffs, through to Worlds, let's go. This roster is showing us it is at least possible for them. The quality of play has been increasing over time. The new look in summer looking pretty solid here. So TSM, still, 6,000 gold, ready to close this out before too long. A minute left in the Baron buff, and C9 have not shown us signs of being able to withstand this pressure.
They haven't whatsoever. Pretty interesting build here for Broken Blade. They are just going to push 1-3-1 here with this Baron buff, but Death Dance plus Blade of the Rune King, not something I've really seen. Generally speaking, you pretty much always see a Triforce or a Black Cleaver for that 20% CDR, but Licorice, you're in trouble again, my friend.
Big stun, big ult, goodbye. During the duration of a gold card, they have shut him down again. A dunk backwards, maybe Broken Blade will lose his life. It's a lot of damage, he will be shut down. So some gold on the board, a little bit there for Cloud9, but it's still TSM knocking down the top lane tier 2.
And Doublelift has the range to safely siege here. There's not a lot of threat. As long as Spica stands in front of him, he can't get actually hit by the Ashe arrow. Turret is gone, and he has that trap line, but now he gets hit by that arrow.
Black Shield a little bit late. Damage from Doublelift. Blaber could go in, has the ulti waiting at the Black Shield's going to find some slows. Is it going to be enough damage? Not nearly enough. Blaber just gets shut down. 3-item Caitlyn has a lot of DPS. 17 stack Machi's Lichbane. A lot of damage from Bjergsen there as well. Blaber cannot be tanky enough. He's all armor, and that is 300 AP onto Bjergsen. So that is a kill through. And again, C9 cannot find the openings.
That engage felt a little bit desperate from Blaber there, trying to go forward. He saw low health bars on multiple members there from TSM, but you are not on a champion that can just 100 to 0 or even like 60 to 0 by yourself. You need the backup to be there. His teammates did not have flash, they did not have the arrow, they didn't have the ability to actually catch up and follow up on that engage. So as a result, yeah, he chunks Bjergsen and Doublelift quite low with that initial damage from his ultimate and the W, but there's not anything afterwards to finish him off, and does end up going down. Doublelift picks up an entire Lord Dominix off of that base. So we saw how quickly Blaber died before. Well, it's about to get a whole lot faster, and TSM now are threatening the Ocean Soul. I think this would be, well and truly game over for Cloud9 if they are not able to contest it, and it doesn't look like they have any chance to do so.
Well, it's going to be Soul Point. Thankfully for Blaber, he was able to steal the last one, so at least they're not getting Soul yet. But yes, I mean, you can clearly see they are like, yeah, let's just clear some waves. TSM, you have shown us time and again, your fighting is too strong. They don't have the damage. IE is at least done for Zven. His frontline damage goes up a little bit. These items are slowly growing in the C9 inventories, but it is still a nearly 7,000 gold lead. In 5 minutes, the frontline becomes invincible. Azale, that Ocean Soul, I think, does completely signal game over if it comes through in 5 minutes. As it stands, TSM are walking over this one.
Clearly my brain was not working there.
That's okay.
Completely that they had gotten it. So obviously a pretty critical smite on the previous fight that Blaber was able to get it. Azir is scaling. That is something working for them. Maybe going towards a Void Staff here. He does already have 2 items. That could be pretty nice for them. And they have multiple forms of healing debuffs with the Executioners, as well as that Bramble Vest to try to help negate some of the healing, especially that's going to be done by Broken Blade. So there is a world in which C9 can win, but it is getting smaller and smaller, less and less likely. And
Danger.
Nisqy, you are dead.
Danger, Nisqy. Dunked into the wall. Goodbye. Goodbye. TF not needed. How about a 980 damage critical strike to the head? As again, kills come through. Doublelift takes another name on the list. And it's time for the inhibitor to die.
They can actually keep pushing if they want to try to risk it. I don't know if they're going to continue going for it. I don't think they will, now that I see Broken Blade not even threatening on the bottom side. I thought they could try to threaten on multiple angles. Instead, they'll just take the much safer play. They'll move towards the Baron, moving Broken Blade up towards the mid lane so he can push that in. The rest of the team will move into the jungle and actually just get vision here as they wait for that Baron to spawn. That should be theirs, no contest, absolutely. Nisqy's still not up for 12 more seconds and does not have teleport, so even if he does spawn in time, there's no way for them to really challenge here. The gold lead expanding and expanding even further.
Well, goodbye to the Baron. Picked up yet again. No problem at all. Smite not needed. They're going to save that one in case it matters some other point in time. You can see the headshots do a whole lot of damage to monsters.
1,800, not bad.
Yeah, I mean, there's bonus damages on top, but yeah, that is a lot of damage there. Negative armor on red buff. It's, it's inflated numbers to be clear. QSS comes through for Doublelift. He chugs the red elixir. He's ready to go. in case there is some kind of a chance, then in case that arrow does land, Double's going to get away from that one. If the Black Shield's light, he can still cleanse that one out. More items coming through. Black Cleaver nearly done on Broken Blade.
And honestly, Zven has been incredible landing the arrows. Like, I think it's actually really hard to consistently land those arrows onto a Caitlyn who has long range and who has Black Shield and has those people around him. He's been finding the angles and finding the timings. He's been landing the arrow on Doublelift almost every single time, and they're still losing the fight. So now, who do you even shoot it at, right? Like, it's not a lot of good options for him there. Unless they can force out the QSS from something else, which basically seems like pretty much a 0% chance because there's nothing else he really would ever need to cleanse. Doublelift is just pretty much not an option anymore.
Well, that's the problem because Doublelift has 330 CS, 6 kills, and 4 major damage items. If he's not an option to kill, he's just going to kill you. So I guess it sucks to be Cloud9 right now because they're about to drop to 11-5. Their first 0-2 week of the year is about to be in front of them. They're looking for the try again. This time, it will miss as an arrow, but here comes the TP flank. This is the attempt. Can it happen for Cloud9? Damage comes through, and Doublelift has been killed. But can they do the rest? Broken Blade flashes in, looks for kill number 1, grabs that one, looks for the re-engage. The top laner's dead. Zven is next. Broken Blade cleans at the back line. Vulcan's gonna be next. How about a quick triple kill? No problem at all. The ace nearly in. Blaber is the only one alive, and TSM will tie for second. They have control of their playoff destiny. They can control the pace for a playoff bye. They have finally peaked at the right time. Cloud9 will fall. TSM will be the one to do it, and they will take that Nexus.
TSM looking so happy in the cameras. Their smiles across the board as they crush Cloud9 here, beating him in just 31.5 minutes or so. Looking really, really good on their execution today. They snowballed the top lane. Bjergsen putting so much pressure onto Licorice. Once Broken Blade was ahead, he managed the wave well, freezing there, dominating the side lanes. They executed, it felt like almost perfectly at all of those dragon fights. None of them were even remotely close. They crushed Cloud9 in those team fights, and even in that final engage, great flank again from Cloud9. It's not as though they were trying these engages. They were just shut down. They had all the answers. Exhaust onto Licorice. Everyone has to pile forward to actually kill off Doublelift. And then guess what? There's 2 fed solo laners who are just running through your backline, killing off everyone. And TSM, you said it, peaking at the right time. But Cloud9 now 2-5 in the second half. After a 9-0 start, after crushing Spring Split, here we are in the later half of summer, at the very end of summer. And Cloud9, will have one of the worst records in the league in the second half, sitting at this point in time.
A free-falling Cloud9. Other teams are improving, but this is still signs of concern. But again, TSM, very well done to them. The chance at taking first seed is possible. They need to 2-0, and Immortals needs to beat Team Liquid for them. Then they will have a tiebreak against TL for number 1. That is possible. We'll see if that happens over in Week 9. Otherwise, hey, maybe they fight for number 2, and that's still pretty good for a playoff bye. Control their destiny regardless here for TSM. Now, we're going to take a break. On the other side, we'll be breaking down the action with our State Farm Analyst Desk. Stick around.
Your Honda MVP!
Dreams aren't achieved overnight. They take passion.
It's Mr. World 3.
Dedication. And even then, there are no guarantees. But for the LCS, that's the power of dreams.
Too bad!
It means you never give up. It means you always play again. Honda, proud automotive partner of the LCS.
Welcome back to the LCS and the State Farm Analyst Desk. It had been 2 years, gentlemen, 2 years since the last time Cloud9 went 0-2 on a weekend. And in the battle for second place, it's TSM who comes out on top, smacking them down.
This is the TSM that continues to show up when games are either playoffs or they have the most on the line. When they heard there's a chance to actually move up in the standings and maybe get one of those buys, you know this team had to bring their A game, and that's what they did today.
It was incredible. I mean, this is, the fact that C9 is, they guarantee C9 is like losing record on the back half. TSM hits them with that. TSM ties them in the standings. If TSM continue to win out, this is in their control now because it forces a head-to-head, even if Cloud9 wins out as well. So TSM could easily continue this rally, and they look so good right now.
Yeah, it is important to note that both teams are technically in control. If they win out their next 2 games next week, they'll force a tiebreaker between themselves. Winner of that third game, the rematch, would ultimately get the second place bye. You may have also noticed that Evil Geniuses had their bar grayed out. That is the indicator that they have now locked playoffs. That's because of a loss below them in the standings. So we've already got 6 teams locked for the postseason and 2 spots left to be decided. But either way, I think it's huge and has to be celebrated, the fact that TSM was able to step up in this moment, like you said, Crumbs. But then on the flip side of all of this, probably, is the fact that Cloud9 is now guaranteed to have more losses than wins in the second half of a split, in which we all thought that they were going to run away with it, just like they did in spring.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening because we're no longer looking at just draft as a problem. So now we're back down to the fundamentals of this team is getting outperformed, and this team is just getting beaten straight up. This game specifically, Broken Blade forced Licorice slash 1v1. Bjergsen forced Nisqy slash 1v1, and that's a pretty big deal. You don't see solo lanes able to 1v1 force flashes, especially when one gets a counter pick and the other one is picking a safe blind pick. So the way TSM's playing is a really high level right now.
I mean, it's the complete opposite of everything we thought was going to happen, how we were kind of talking the pregame, like, oh, the one bright spot for C9 that's been consistent is Licorice. Broken Blade goes and slams this matchup. He had a nice freeze in the top lane, getting a monstrous CS lead. He's forcing flashes. He's coordinating with Bjergsen to get the TP up to the top side. Like, this is what had been one of the lone points for C9, and TSM, with a counter pick, absolutely destroy it.
Twisted Fate still being really important, but it's not like TSM was without a fault, because this was a fight where Cloud9 was actually able to bring it back off of a really nice Azir ultimate. Then they stopped the Herald. So there was some hope with Cloud9's team fighting in this game. It just continued to snowball out of the side lane pressure that TSM had with Twisted Fate. And despite finding these kills here and there, I think the Cloud9 execution during the fights was really lackluster. The coordination that they had of, say, Blaber going in and timing it with Licorice was just not there. Something's clearly going on with the shot calling with Cloud9.
I mean, I actually am not even discrediting Cloud9 that much. Like, TSM did a really good job. Like, Treatz exhausted Kennen every single time. I mean, you can argue Licorice could have had better ults, but even if you give him a couple more stun targets, he's still going to die, and the targets aren't going to be killed. And then the second thing is TSM set up at these objectives before Cloud9 each time. So Cloud9 has to come into Caitlyn traps, into Morgana Q. So TSM's tempo this game, although you can't really see it, was really good.
I actually think that's exactly why Caitlyn is so strong right now. For the teams that get to set up earlier, you're not contesting those areas. It's impossible to get in. Those little chokeholds, if you're late, you might as well just give those Drakes.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Treatz as well. His black shields were great, too. I don't think there was almost ever a time that they were able to get onto Doublelift when it mattered. Like right here, okay, great. You hold it for when it actually matters. Let the arrow hit, then black shield the follow-up CC that wants to come through. I thought like this was such a great play. It baited them in on the C9 side, thinking, oh, that arrow hit, we can kill Doublelift. No, you can't. And then a great turn by the rest of the team. I think Spica also had some incredible ults. He had some 3-man ones to really set the team up. Like, everyone was really rolling, and Doublelift was the primary, recipient of all that support, able to absolutely take over this game the longer it went.
We saw that exhaust thrown on Licorice, as you had mentioned, probably every single time, without fail, the exhaust flies in onto the Kennen. And these statistics for Doublelift on Caitlyn look fantastic, and again, just continues to service kind of that point that you were making at the top of the day, Mark, around Doublelift's performance, even while the supports around him have been swapped throughout the split. But to me, this is a boon. With Caitlyn back in the lineup, that Doublelift is finding a footing to be effective in games, because we know from the AD carry position, he's one of few that really can dictate the result of a game.
It's a Caitlyn meta.
I mean, Caitlyn's just becoming meta. Doublelift was performing for a while. He's been so good, and I think the entirety of TSM has slowly been figuring things out. The fact that they're, I think, 4-0 now in their last 2 weeks. They haven't always been pretty, but that's the important thing. Like Crumbs was saying earlier, they're picking up the wins when it matters and surging late in the season.
Fantastic showing by TSM to take down Cloud9, make it a battle for second place as we close in on the end of the summer split. Let's check in with how Bingo stands through 2 games on the day. I don't believe we have any winners yet, but Mark is the closest to pulling in a
red
victory.
side.
In multiple cases here, you're only one away with a red team victory from the postage stamp. Good progress as well towards Blackout, if I'm being honest, with a couple of line bingos formulating as well.
What do you mean a red team victory postage stamp? How does that work?
So do you see? Okay, Crumbs, let me explain how bingo works. It worries me that you've gotten this far into the broadcast without understanding this. But so where that block of red team wins, you see how the other 3 in the corner are already filled out?
Yeah.
That would be where a postage stamp goes, right? On
That's
an envelope.
That's
so if he does a square of 4 in any of the corners, that's called a postage stamp.
Listen, I'm putting it out there for the people that didn't know what's going on because
Go rewatch
I'm not
Countdown.
the only one that doesn't know this. Some people might have
talked about it in
tuned
Countdown.
for
We had a whole
TSMC9.
graphic.
We got to help them out.
We had a whole graphic that explained all the different ways to win, Crumbs. And you did tell me you didn't look at it.
I did look at it. You didn't hear what I said. It's for other people. It's for people
Oh,
that
yeah,
doesn't know how to
of
do
course.
it. But
get
that's
into the
okay.
broadcast. They're like, I don't know what a postage stamp is in the context of bingo. So, helping people out, guys. You
Today,
can't
Crumbs
create that.
learned what an envelope, a postage stamp, and how to play bingo are. All right, on the other side of the break, we've got FlyQuest taking on Evil Geniuses. We'll see you back here in just a few.
I'm keeping my cat hidden until I need.
It's Jake from State Farm. Sounds like a really good deal.
Jake from State Farm at 3 in the morning. Who is this?
It's Jake from State Farm.
What are you wearing, Jake from State Farm?
Khakis? Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.